Well, many have read my friend Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad philosophy is very sound, and what Bob Kiyosaki says that there's 4 categories of people. He calls these the 4 quadrants. The first category, the great majority, are employees who work for a salary. Now, people who work for a salary have all their deductions taken off at source. They take the money home and they spend it on their lifestyle, and they very seldom ever get ahead. A friend of mine wrote a book once, and he said, "You never get rich working for someone else. You only get rich working for yourself." However, employee status is where we start. We all have to start somewhere. The second category of people, the next higher category, is self-employed people. These are people who earn their livings from commissions, income, bonuses, fees, and so on. They're what you might call free agents. Many people, for instance, who are contractors or who are computer programmers or who are repair people or even doctors, lawyers, architects, and engineers who work on their own are basically self-employed. In other words, they can only eat what they kill. They can only get money when they're actually working and getting results that they're being paid for. The next level up are entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs are people who have other people working for them. When you start off with your job and you start your own business, you're an entrepreneur in a way, but you only really become a serious entrepreneur when you begin to hire people who can do certain things for you to free up your time to do things that are more valuable. Now, here's the key to entrepreneurship. The whole purpose of hiring other people is so that you can do more of those things that pay you the very most. And you don't hire other people to do things that you should be doing. All right? If your biggest skill is your ability to sell, you don't hire salespeople and then sit in the office behind the desk shuffling papers. So, entrepreneurs leverage themselves, multiply their ability by hiring others to do specialized functions that they're either not good at or which is not a good use of your time. And finally, investors. This is the highest level of all. These are people who put up their own money and can borrow the money of others, and they create wealth or sources of wealth that generate income for them when they're not working. Even an entrepreneur has to be working all the time, but an investor is a person who owns a piece of a business or maybe even owns the whole business, and it continues to generate revenue. When you buy stocks, by the way, you are investing in another company that other people are running. And if they run the company well, you will make money from stocks and mutual fund investments. This is a form of investing. Your ultimate goal in life is to become an investor. However, you have to go through being an employee, being self-employed, and being an entrepreneur in order to generate the revenue necessary so that you can be an investor. Now, here's the best definition of wealth I've ever read, and it is, wealth is income from other sources. You're not wealthy if you make a good living. You're only wealthy if you make a good living when you're not working. If you have to work every day for your living, you may be well paid, and there's a lot of well-paid people who have so many debts and so much debt service and so many payments that they're only 2 months away from homelessness. So wealth means that you have money that is working for you, whether you work or not. Your goal is to move from employee to self-employed to entrepreneur to investor in stages with a plan and with measures or benchmarks on how to get there. So let's talk about personal financial planning. I have many graduates and people who work with me who changed their lives with some of the things that we're going to talk about. And in personal financial planning, first thing you do is you set clear financial goals for your life and for every part of your life. Remember, a goal that is in writing, and USA Today had a study on this just recently. I've taught it for 20 years. A goal that's in writing has 10 times the likelihood of coming true than a goal that is in your head. And don't worry about getting the wrong goals or changing your goals. Get something on the paper. It's sort of like when you go into a restaurant, the first thing is you want to get something served quickly as possible. What you have to do is write down as quickly as possible financial goals for your life. Start off with your annual income goal. How much do you want to earn in the next year? How much do you want to earn in the second year after that? Year 3, year 4, year 5, year 10, 15, 20. Write it down. What I do, by the way, is I calculate how much I earned this year, and then I increase it by 25% a year. I say next year, if I earned $100,000 this year, next year I want to earn $125,000. And then you use a calculator and you multiply, and the next year you want to earn 155 or 160,000, and the next year so on. Now you've got some targets to aim at. You can always change them with experience, but now you have a target for your annual income goals. Then your next goal is your monthly savings goal. How much do you want to save each month? Be specific about the amount. I want to save X number of dollars each month, and write it down. Remember, it's much more likely to come true. Next thing, calculate your net worth. Figure out how much you're worth today, how much you're worth each month, how much you're worth each year. Constantly keep reviewing your net worth so you can see if it's changing in a positive or negative way. One of the best things you can do is stop by the bank and pick up a bank loan application form and fill it out completely in detail as though a banker were going to study it. Those bank loan application forms, by the way, are as hard as death. You know, they're as serious as a heart attack, as they say. Is you can't fudge. You can't say, well, my stamp collection is worth this or my clothes are worth that. When you fill out one of those applications, all they care about is show me the money. Show me the money. Then set down a goal for your retirement. How much do you want to be bringing in each year when you retire? And then calculate your retirement goal as 20 times that amount. For example, if you want to have an income of $5,000 a month, and that's $60,000 a year, well, 20 times $60,000 a year is $1,200,000 that you'll have to have accumulated before you retire. Now, mind you, this is conservative. It doesn't take into consideration growth of your portfolio, but the very best financial consultants will tell you that your goal should be to have 20 times the amount that you will need to live comfortably on so that you can draw down from your capital all your life and never run out of money. And remember this, is the average person, yourself, listening to this program, is going to live to be 85 or 90 years old. You'll retire at 65 or 70. You'll need 20 years to retire on, so the time to start thinking about it is when? That's right now. Well, the second part of personal financial planning is to analyze your current situation. Take a look at your current situation in every detail. Look at all of your income, look at all of your expenses. First of all, calculate how much are you worth exactly today, and then calculate how much do you owe exactly today, and deduct that, and say, what is your current net worth? One of the exercises I put my students through is I say, imagine that you were going to move to another country and you had to sell everything you had into cash and take the cash with you. How much would you have left in cash if you had to sell everything that you owned? And when you ask that question, you realize that your furniture, your clothes, your stereo set, and things like that are worth about 10 cents on the dollar. So think about terms of cash. What is your current net worth today? Now, most people don't like this exercise, but remember, honesty is important. You must be really, really honest, and as Jim Collins says in his book, Good to Great, you have to ask yourself the brutal questions. Honey, how much are we really worth? We're earning this amount, and we've got this house, and we've got this car, but, when you strip it all away, how much do we really have? How much are we worth? Then, once you know how much you're worth, you resort to trimming. Now, trimming is where you begin to slice off, trim, and reduce your expenses. The way you do this is you carefully evaluate every expense before you make it. Most people are in financial trouble because they spend money impulsively. One of the best recommendations is to get rid of all your credit cards and pay cash for everything. When you have to pay cash for something, you really see how much it's costing. Credit card money sometimes doesn't seem like real money. But when you have to pay cash, it makes you real smart about spending. So evaluate every expense before you invest it. Second of all is delay and procrastinate on buying larger items. Remember, if you take a month to think over before you spend money on something, chances are you won't buy it at all. Always buy time between yourself and making a decision on expensive outlays. Examine your biggest monthly expenses and look for ways to reduce, cut back, and eliminate them. I'll give you an example. If you have credit card debt, you're paying 18 to 21%. The rule is to get out of debt, pay off the debt that has the highest interest rate first. Another thing that you might have to do, at least temporarily, is move into a less expensive home or apartment. If you're paying $2,000 a month and you can find a place that's pretty much as good quality for $1,500 a month, then what you do is you take that $500 a month and you put 100% of it against your debts. It's absolutely amazing how fast you get out of debt. And I'll tell you this, the difference between a person who has money in the bank and is out of debt and a person who has debts and is worried about money is night and day. The one who has money is calm, confident, powerful, optimistic, friendly. You know that little poem that says, "Come here and let me tell you, my little honey, a rich man's jokes are always funny." And the wonderful thing is, when you have lots of money in the bank, you feel great about yourself. When you don't have money, you worry about it all the time. You know, someone once said that money is like food. If you're well fed and you've got lots of food, you don't even think about it. But if you are cut off from food for any period of time, you think of nothing else. It's the same thing with money. So think of cutting back your expenditures. Many people will reduce the size of their car. Many people will get rid of their leases. Many people will look at expenditures in their lives and cut them back, cut off club expenditures, cut off dues, stop subscribing to certain things, and so on, and take that extra money and either save it or pay off your debts. Now, another way, part of personal financial planning, is training. And I'm a fanatic on this subject. Training means to make yourself more valuable. And I think it's one of the most important things you do is constantly work on becoming more valuable. You know, keep saying, how can I add more value? What subjects do I need to become better in? And here's a question which I encourage my students to ask. Is what one skill, if you were really excellent at it, would help you the most in achieving your personal income? What one skill, if you're outstanding at it, would help you the most to double your income? And whatever that skill is, set it as a goal and write it down, make a plan, and work on getting better in that area every single day until you master the skill. And then you ask, now, what one skill would help me the most? And you set that as a goal and make a plan and work on it every day. In training, concentrate on your hourly rate. What I've found is in studying self-made millionaires and the highest paid people in our society is that they all think in terms of how much they earn each hour. People who are not doing well think in terms of how much they earn per week or per month or per year. The highest paid people think in terms of how much I earn per hour, and then they make sure that every single hour they earn at least that amount. For example, if you're earning $50,000 a year, or that's your goal, divided by 2,000 hours, which is the average American work week, that means $25 an hour. What you do from then on is you keep asking yourself, is what I'm doing right now paying $25 an hour? Would my boss pay me $25 an hour to do what I'm doing? Would I pay someone else $25 an hour to do what I'm doing? And whatever your answer is, if the answer is no, stop doing it and start doing the few things that you do that really pay the most. Decide to double your income. And then ask yourself, what do I have to be really good at to earn twice as much? In fact, a good exercise is to find someone who's earning twice as much as you and go to them and ask them and say, what is it that you do differently from me? And listen and make notes. And if you ask a few people, you'll find that they listen to audio programs in their car like this. They read and study every day. They start earlier. They work harder. They stay later. They go to conferences. They concentrate on their highest value tasks. Whatever they tell you, do the same thing. Apply the 80-20 rule to your work. Remember, 20% of what you do each day accounts for 80% of the value of everything you do. So keep asking yourself, what are the 20% of things that I can do right now that are worth 80% of all the things that I do? Sometimes it's the 90-10 rule. Sometimes 10% of what you do on a list of 10 items is worth 90% of what you accomplish that day. And finally, once you've asked these questions, be prepared to change jobs. The average person starting work today is going to have 14 full-time jobs and 4 to 5 full-time careers in their lifetime. I cannot tell you the hundreds and thousands of people who have written to me and called me and emailed me and told me that after they listened to my materials, they changed jobs and changed their entire lives. They realized they could never achieve their goals and ambitions where they were because the salary or income or payment structure was just not there. So think, you may have to change jobs if you want to become a millionaire. You may have to do all kinds of things that you've never thought of doing before.